What's going on, guys? Mario and Dooney here. In this video, I want to talk about AI and automation and machine learning and all the things that are kind of on the horizon and starting to be implemented, especially by some of the top Shopify stores. And then, obviously, algorithmic components to, all of our traffic sources. But in this video, I'm going to primarily talk about what options we have as Shopify store owners to add some more automation and to add some AI and to not fall sucker to apps and programs out there that are claiming to be AI, but really are just straight up if-then statements, if you know what I mean. Basically, if a customer asks this, then the response will be this. And, they'll claim that that's AI, but that's not even machine learning. And as I understand it, machine learning is if a customer says this, then we'll try these 4 different responses, and over time we'll pick which one is getting the best action. Like if a customer says, are there any discount codes? Then there would be 4 possible responses, and over time certain responses would get more clicks and more conversions, and the software would adjust and start sending that particular message more, if not all the time, thus increasing our conversions. And there's a lot of automation like that in email marketing. For example, when I fire off a broadcast with Klaviyo, I'll set it up. Let's say I'm sending it out to 1,000 people. I'll send it to 250 people, 125 under this subject line, 125 under this subject line, and I'll set it so 3 hours later, whichever subject line got more opens, the other 75% of people get that. Now, that's not AI. That's automation. And, it's got a component of machine learning in it. So, let's go through a few apps. I mentioned Klaviyo already for your email marketing, and a lot of email autoresponders have that sort of split testing capability. And let's take a look at what I've been looking at today and kind of myth bust one piece of software that I spent some time looking into and was thinking about promoting, but I was very disappointed because they almost got it, but they really didn't add an AI component other than in their marketing. So let's go ahead and look through the Shopify App Store and see what we got for AI these days. All right, so if I do a search for AI, let's look at what's popular. Okay, so LimeSpot is not talked about a lot, but I actually had this on my $1 Million store for a while, and it does a really good job of upselling, cross-selling, and things of that nature. And it's very inexpensive. And as you can see here, you got 1,200 stores using it, and all good reviews. So we can take a look at that. Bold Brain is an add-on for the Bold series of upsell apps and other apps that they put out. They have some very popular apps that do a good job of increasing your average order value within your store. You can tell it's sort of a newer app here, and I would just keep an eye on this for the future. The reviews on it right now are not phenomenal, and I just kind of feel like they're probably just maybe pushed the launch a little too soon, or it's in beta. But this is definitely one to look at as time progresses, because this is a very reputable, popular app company, and I would say more likely than not, at some point, maybe very soon, this app is going to do some very cool things, integrating with their other suite of apps, as far as using some machine learning to increase your conversion rates and things of that nature. Okay. Let's go ahead and go back to LimeSpot. LimeSpot's got 2 different apps in this category. The most popular one is this personalizer, which is very cool to play around with, especially if you have a lot of SKUs. If you have a general store in particular, it's going to really kind of just try out a bunch of different stuff and learn. And it's got a really nice dashboard for analytics to show you what it's been doing. I'm not an affiliate of it or anything. I just think it's a cool app, and kind of the leader in this space as far as at least the Shopify App Store goes, right? And so they have another app that's down here, and it's not nearly as popular. You can see it's got slightly lower review, only 21 reviews. I was hoping that I haven't tried it, but I was hoping that it would be more adopted and have a bunch of good reviews, because I would be interested in trying this out. And this basically works with the same machine learning that LimeSpot Personalizer does, and it sends out targeted emails based on customer behavior, which is very cool because I like using an autoresponder. I use Klaviyo most of the time, and in addition to apps for my email marketing, like for say I'm a fan of Abandonment Protector app to run my abandoned cart sequences, because I'm getting a much better return on that than if I'd set up an identical campaign with my autoresponder. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that, but basically it's inboxing more and it's more aggressively emailing, and it's coming from a different source. And so that gives you an advantage. And apps like Abandonment Protector and apps that are similar than that, you're welcome to split test other apps, like TriFunnels and things of that nature, and see if those work out. So for now, as far as the App Store goes, to really get some machine learning and some upsell, cross-selling, personalization going, Personalizer by LimeSpot is probably the go-to. I'm not 100% on that, but I've used it before, and it's very popular. And, like I said, I love their analytics, and it does a good job. It's definitely worth, trying out in your store. If you don't have a lot of SKUs, it probably doesn't matter that much, but maybe it does. I mean, you could have 10 or 20 SKUs, and then it picks the best couple ones, and that's great. And it's not very expensive, okay? So let's move away from that, and let's look at some stuff that's a little less well-known that's not in the Shopify App Store, okay? So one thing I like to do is I like to go over to JVZoo, which is an affiliate network. I like to run a search for the top sellers, okay? And sometimes there's some pretty cool stuff in here. So right now, ChatterPal is the top seller for the last week or two, it looks like, okay? Last month at least, okay? So they're moving a lot of this product, and it looks really cool. And I think if used properly, you could probably make some good money with it and give you a cool user experience, okay? But it claims to be an AI, and it doesn't even have split testing or any sort of AI learning whatsoever, okay? What it does do, which is cool, and if they added an AI or even just a split testing version to this, I think it'd be a very useful thing to try out, assuming it doesn't slow your Shopify store down. Okay. So what they're doing is basically, we all know we go to Shopify stores, and in the bottom right, we get a little pop-up from either a real person or something automated, right? In this case, it lets you kind of customize an avatar, and then it has a cartoon picture of a person kind of come up. And it also does, it also speaks verbally in addition to having text. So that might make for a cool user experience, okay? And then they have another option if you have the budget and the know-how to do it, where you can put yourself here behind a green screen. And I think that could be extremely cool, especially like let's say you had a celebrity type store. Like let's say this was Kylie Jenner selling her makeup. Can you imagine she pops up looking all beautiful and talking about her makeup, and you're able to chat with her, and then she actually gives you responses and talks about her makeup and what she likes and things of that nature. Another thing that came to mind was, what if you went to like Boom by Cindy Joseph, which is Ezra Firestone, very successful marketers company with a over 40 model type of situation. So being able to have program responses in this sort of situation with the actual brand ambassador of the brand could be absolutely phenomenal. Again, assuming it doesn't slow the store down, which I haven't tested yet. But what it doesn't have, it claims to be an AI, but what it doesn't have is any sort of split testing or machine learning based on the responses. So obviously, if somebody asks a buying question, you want to give an answer that creates that. And maybe somebody asks, do you have any, bundles, or do you have any shipping codes or something of that nature that, I don't want to pay shipping and this and that. And then the app could split test, a series of different responses and be like, oh, just spend $5 more. By the way, we have this great little add-on that's $5, which would be perfect, and now you get free shipping. Or they could split test that with, you're just under the amount of purchases to get the free shipping, so why don't you try this? And then it upsells to something more expensive, like $20 item. And then over time, and now it's split testing those two responses, it would pick whichever one is generating you more customers or generating you more revenue. Okay, so something like that would be extremely useful, and that, I guess, would be AI. Even though it's just split testing, where do you draw the line on artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? Machine learning is good enough of just split testing responses. Then at the end of the day, it's getting you the same results as an AI at this stage, right? The other thing it could split test is it could have multiple avatars. It could have different avatars pop up depending on where in the world the person is, gender, things of that nature. And, like if an elderly gentleman comes, this guy pops up, right? If a millennial guy comes up, this guy pops up and says some funny stuff. Just, kind of spitballing some ideas there, right? And that would be really cool. So I feel like this app it has all the integrations, and it's inexpensive. It's like $50, probably 100 or 200 if you get all the upsells and bells and whistles. Like, you know how that goes. But if this actually had some AI machine learning in it, this would be revolutionary. Again, assuming it loaded quick. So keep an eye on this company. This is ChatterPal. I'd keep an eye on this company and anybody that comes up with something similar that actually does have some machine learning and split testing capability, because that could be a game changer. And so let's move on let's look at a couple of the top Shopify general stores out there, and let's take a look at their apps and see if they're using any AI or machine learning in their apps. Okay, so I always hate calling stores out, but they're successful and they'll keep adapting and things of that nature. So I don't feel terribly bad calling different stores out. So I'm going to go over to Sugar and Cotton, which is a general store that I followed for a very long time. They're extremely successful. And we're going to take a look at what apps they're using, okay? So they have Adderall for their retargeting. This is either machine learning or close to it. You put a whole bunch of different creatives in there, and it'll retarget all with its own pixel all over Facebook and all kinds of different Google placements, and maybe some. I think they also have some less known placements as well. So for automated retargeting, especially in a general store or any store you're driving a decent amount of traffic to, that's a very cool app. Okay, I actually had hired somebody to make me some creatives for that and running it, and it was pretty cool to see the demographics and the results from some sort of app assisted retargeting. I mean, if you're doing great on your targeting all by yourself, especially you might be doing great on your Facebook retargeting on your own, but then maybe you just haven't dipped into Google. Maybe you have Adderall do your Google retargeting for you. That's just an example, okay? So you can see they're using the bold apps, but they're not using that new one with the machine learning on it yet. See, they got LimeSpot, so this is probably making them a ton of money because I know this store has a lot of SKUs. I'd say thousands, okay? Let's see what else they have that might be interesting. Okay, so looking at this store, which is a great general store, they have the LimeSpot recommender with the targeted recommendations and the machine learning. So that's an example that sort of solidifies in my mind people are making money with this. And then they have Adderall, and they have this other one, Visual Web Optimizer, which I'm not that familiar with. Maybe I'll look into that and do another video on that. But as you can see, it's got A/B split testing. So anything with A/B split testing will either give you the demographics where you can then, the results rather, where you can choose whether to go with the A or B later, or a lot of A/B testing tools will pick a winner and start serving that particular traffic source to the winner, right? And then they also have Adderall, which I believe has some machine learning into it, but I'm not 100% on that. Okay, let's move on to another very successful, it's a general store, kind of focuses more on gadgets, which is one of the biggest markets, obviously, in the e-com space. And this is Dude Gadgets. So let's take a look at what they're running for apps. Okay, so this is interesting here. They're running Criteo. Criteo is something that I started to look into, and I'm going to look into even more. And it seems to be a huge database of customer behavior. That's sort of a third-party database of customer behavior, and feeds you data and actions based on what these people are doing across the internet in general. So this seems to be a way that you can sort of access sort of the hive brain, much the way that Google and Facebook do, and maybe have kind of your own powerhouse feeding you data that then you can make decisions with without having to trust that the Facebook and Google algorithms have your best interest at heart, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So I'm going to do another video later on purely on Criteo after I've dug into it some more, but it's something that I've started to notice is in some of the top multi-million dollar Shopify stores, branded stores and dropshipping stores. So we'll get a look at that at a later date, right? And then we got this visual web optimizer that we saw in some of the other major stores. So that's something I'll look into too and do a follow-up video on. So I hope to do a lot more videos on AI and automation in general for e-commerce, because it's the future and it's now, and if you don't have it, you're going to be behind the curve in a major way for now and going into the future. So hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative, and I suggest you to look into some of the apps and software that I talked about today, and you might make a bunch of extra money from it. This is Mario Menduni signing off.